Thank you, everyone, for coming. Yeah, as it was said, this is going to be big data. Well, dress code, sorry. Big data approach to understanding the content security policy. At the end of the talk, I would like to share with you 8 bypasses. 6 of them, I think that they are not so well known. 2 of them, I think that maybe be a bit known, but nevertheless, I would like to popularize them because I think they are really interesting. Okay, starting with that, I would like everyone here to imagine a big red button. Next to this big red button, there is a note that says, if you push this button, you are going to get rid of every SQL injection in your life for every application that you ever develop. Would you push that button? Wouldn't you? Yes, no? I think, me included, everyone here, I guess that would do the same. But interestingly, we're not doing the same for other impactful vulnerabilities like cross-site scripting, which could have a really high impact on your users. I will come to back that later and explain why I do not think that we are pushing that button for this kind of over-the-board data injection vulnerabilities. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Felipe Molina. I've been working with Orange Cyber Defense since post-team for 4 years and something more. 10 years in the information security industry. Proud Dad, Futurama, and Simpson fan, of course. And you can find me on Twitter if you want to chat with me about Futurama. Anyway, I've divided this talk in 3 different blocks. The first one is going to be the context with a bit of history, brief. The aim of CSP, the content security policy. The second part is going to be the big data part with little stars there, where I explain the architecture that I came up with to scan 1 million sites of internet to understand the content health security, the content health status of content security policy. The third block is going to be the bypasses themselves with a bit of demo if we have enough time. Okay, I want to clarify what the dress code name. It comes from UI redressing attacks. UI redressing attacks, as you may know, it comes from different kind of injection, JavaScript injection in your pages. So I was here last year with a web application assessment that I got with one of our clients that called iterative assessment with us. So I was reading that they had this cross-site scripting, store one, in many places of their web pages. And I said, okay, let's try it. I saw that it was not possible to exploit them anymore because the client implemented a very strict CSP policy, content security policy. I said, damn, I'm not going to be able to exploit them again. They didn't care about the base code of the application, but instead implemented the CSP. So what happened? As a hacker, you think that you have to bypass that and resurface the cross-site scripting. So yeah, what I did is that, found a bypass on CSP policy and resurrected the old cross-site scripting. The client was a bit sad, I was a bit happy, sorry for that. But the thing is that it made a point. I was also able to use this cross-site scripting and bypass to carry out a UI redressing attack to exfiltrate data, to do some kind of phishing, and exfiltrate the data to Google Analytics site, because it was very strict and you could only connect and send that data out to Google Analytics. So yeah, nice. Okay, this is the context. After that assessment, I thought to myself, okay, this is like, I want to know more about CSP, so I decided to understand how CSP works for real, how prevalent is it across internet, how well configured, and ideally I would like to find new bypasses to keep in my toolbox for future assessment or whatever, if you want to keep them for your bug bounties or whatever. So let's start with what is CSP. Defined verbatim from mozilla.org site, it's another layer of security to detect and mitigate injection attacks. More so if it's cross-site scripting. So now that we know what it is, this was the aim of CSP, to tackle and to prevent cross-site scripting, clickjacking, data injection, many other that are not listed here. And those could result in very ugly impacts, such as data theft, site defacement, malware distribution. Very, very bad things could happen if you don't protect against that. So it looks like CSP has a really good end. It's really good to implementing that. But yet, even knowing how good could be implementing CSP, most of us are not pushing that button. Only 10% of the sites that I scan, this is were implementing CSP. This is a chart that indicates how many of those 1 million sites that I scanned were implementing CSP headers. This top 1 million sites were pulled from a database. Well, the source was Majestic Million. Is a data. Well, it's a list of popular sites in the internet constructed by a company called Majestic. They do SEO, so they know their stuff, and so yeah, I target that 1 million site list, and it was a concerning outcome. No, only 10% we are implementing. Only 10% of the sites are implementing this. So this is similar to the situation to the commercial where we have the 9 out of 10 dentists recommending you to brush your teeth, but completely opposite. No, we are just doing completely opposite. The dentist being us, the security and the developers here, we are not doing the right thing. We are just not brushing our teeth. So with that in mind, I was a bit disappointed, and I thought, okay, but maybe this is a modern technology. No, it is not. It has been a long time with us. It started as an idea with R. Snake in 2004, and then in 2009 he published this in hacker.org, saying that Mozilla was going to implement content security policy, which was a good news. No? In 2012 it was issued as a standard, and nowadays in 2023 we have this developing this working draft policy level 3, which is a bit sad from my perspective because it has been with us more than 10 years and we are still not doing it. No? How does it look like? If you go to a site that has content security policy enabled, you would find this header in the response, no? Content security followed by the policy itself. The policy would be separated in different directives, each directive separated by a comma, semicolon, and each directive would have a directive name separated by a space with 0 or more values, okay? So this is the structure that it has. When you go to a random site of internet, you find this is the answer in the response, and if we structure this by separating it by semicolons and by spaces later, this is how it would look like. The first line, for example, well, I must say that this is just 3 examples. Content security policy has a lot of other directive names, which that can have a lot of other purposes here, but those are just 3 examples. Script source is indicating the agent or the browser what scripts are allowed to be running on your page. Okay, this first value is telling the agent that scripts that contain these nouns are allowed to be executed, this or any other randomly generated nouns. The following one is a strict dynamic. This is a value that says to the agent that these scripts that are allowed, they can transitively create or add new scripts to the page that would be allowed in turn to be executed. The self means that also the self page, the same domain is allowed to be executing their own scripts. And the fourth one means that all scripts coming from HTTPS source, this is the protocol handle HTTPS, are also allowed to be executed. Okay. Then we have 2 additional ones that I want to put a bit of more attention in: connect source and default source. Connect source is telling the agent what pages are being allowed to be connecting out from the page, no? And the default source directive is telling the agent what directives or what set of rules to look at in case that there are no other specific rules in the policy. Okay, now that we know how it looks like, I wanted to see how prevalent was CSP and how well implemented was in internet. So I'm not a developer myself, so this is me, the dog, not knowing how to program. But I wanted to do something scalable and something that could be finished in my own lifetime. So I did it. I wanted to do something that was fast. So to scan this 1 million sites. So I did this approach with a asynchronous programming paradigm. Instead of doing a loop with a for and requesting every site, 1 million site in turn, I would do this asynchronous paradigm. So yeah, this is heads up that the project is going to be released in this repo. Dress code of Senspose, and you could use it yourself to scan your own sites or to keep to use it for your own purposes. So anyway, this is the solution that I came with. This is a scanner using the libraries async.io and AIO-HTTP, pmongo for managing the data with the backend database, and pandas to managing the big set of data. The backend would be Mongo database, and to tap into this information and retrieve useful data, I would use a dashboard, use a program with Dash and Plotly Express for the nice charts. Okay, the process would be simple. Collecting the headers with the scanner, 2 different sources I use, Majestic Million and Cisco Umbrella. Both of them gave me the same results, 10% of the sites using it. Then parse the CSP headers from the headers that I retrieved. and assign a country or continent, first by country code TLD, then by IP address geolocation, and then by whois record. Then I would scan everything there, spot weaknesses and bypasses that you can take for profit. So you want to say that for your next assessment or for your next bug bounty program or whatever you want to use it for. Okay, this is how the data looks like in the database. So you start with an ID, URL, and final URL, because you can be redirected multiple times. The headers that I gather, the vulnerabilities that I detected, in this case, no CSP was defined, and whois, host, IPv4, country, continent, and global rank of the site you are looking at. Now I'm going to show you a brief view of how the dashboard is. I'm not going to delve into details of this dashboard. It's just for you to get an idea. No? So the top bar that you see there is telling the application how many sites to pull from the database, 35%, or et cetera, et cetera. No? You get down there the pie chart that shows you how many sites are using CSP at that moment. Then we have this line here where you can, for example, explore weaknesses, the world status, reverse IP to sites, header names, for example, the one that I'm going to show, and CSP directives. This is a frequency chart showing the most frequent directives that I will show you later. I'm not going to delve too much into this. This is just to give you an idea of how it looks like. The results of this chart would be shown here. So this is the CSP directive sort by frequency. We can take a look at the first ones there. The most frequent one and the most used are upgrading secure request and frame ancestors. Upgrading secure requests are used in 46% of the sites that define a content security policy. Frame ancestors are used similarly in the 46%. Could be better, but it's okay. Those make sense that they are most used because they are easier one to implement. So it looks like when it comes to maintaining an allow list, we get a bit tired and we stop implementing. No? So we just decide those are enough for our policy. For example, defining script sources, there is only 20% of the sites that are defining what scripts can be executed in our page. The rest are not defining, so it's not the best configuration. Then we see that those are the less popular one, base URI, report URI, form action manifest, and I think that this is because we don't know what they are doing. There is not much popularity of those. They are not being very widely used. For example, this one, base URI, it's allowing you to prevent you against cross-site scripting that injects, for example, a base tag on your site. This base tag is telling to the agent that all the relative paths of scripts are going to be pulled from that base domain. In case that an attacker injects a base tag in your web, all the scripts of your page are going to be pulled from this attacker site, from this attacker domain. So it's pretty serious, but still, we're not using it enough. Okay. Okay. So you can also take a look in this dashboard to the allowed sources for different values. No. In this case, as an example, I took script source, and the most allowed source for a script source were unsafe inline and unsafe eval. This makes me a bit sad because 20% of the sites and 21% of the sites are defining scripts source are okay with unsafe inline and unsafe eval. It's quite popular, this configuration. So not only this guy that is the only one that is recommending you to brush your teeth is doing it, but he's only doing it 80% of the time. The other 20% of the time is not brushing his teeth. Anyway, I had this other map there in the dashboard where you can see the current status across the globe. No, we are doing it equally wrong. This light green color here means that no more than 10% per country are being of the sites are implementing CSP. There are some outliers here in Africa. I can think that those are because we don't have enough sample data from them, and if we have a couple of 3 sites there, it gets triggered as a lot of sites. But I haven't studied them very deeply. No. So then we can take a look to the weaknesses. This is a way to classify the weaknesses. For example, this is the most frequent weakness that I found. No one is using report to. This report to directive indicates the agent where all those errors can be reported. No, so you can have, if you implement this report to directive on your site, you would have real-time feedback from all these errors that you are getting, your clients or your user are having in your site. No one is also using base URI. So yeah, it looks like it's pretty common not having those. So remember, if you came across, make a wish if you come across a policy that contains the both of them, okay? So the least frequent weaknesses are, unsafe inline and safe eval, they are there, but those are the two ones that get me more worried. For example, 9% of the sites that define a content security policy, they can be abused by third parties' domains. No, I will get back to that later. And lenient scheme, that means that every site, 7% of the sites are allowing HTTP handles, for example, to execute the scripts on your, anything that comes from HTTPS, for example, they are okay in executing as a script. So yeah, it's a bit worrying as well. There are other parts in the dashboard that you can take a look at. There are some tables that lets you to explore some weaknesses of the sites that I gather. This is, for example, third-party, orphan domains, no CSP defined, unsafe eval, unsafe inline. So many others, many vulnerabilities that you can take a look at. This is how it would look like if you visit this part of the dashboard. The orphan domains is the one that we are looking at now. The first column is the affected domain, and the description column tells you what are the domains that are orphan. That means not registered right now. So at the first line, for example, you see that the domain boschtoolsresourcepage.com is present in the script source directive, but it's not registered. So it's sitting there for you to register and execute scripts on that page, provided that you find another cross-site scripting in that site. Okay. Now, for example, another example would be to look at the third-party abuse. In this case, the first column is the affected domain as well, and the description is telling me, for example, the third-party abuse that I can take advantage of. No, the second line, for example, is telling me that the directive connect source contains *@hotjar.com, so I can use that to exfiltrate data. Okay, so it's a list that you can take advantage of if you want to say that. Now what we do with this information? It comes the fun part, no? The exploitation or the so the exploitation part. I wanted to find new bypasses. I found just a head up that I wanted to find new vectors. I found a lot of information in internet about how to bypass CSP using JSON with padding, and AngularJS outdated libraries of AngularJS. Okay. I wanted to find different vectors, so I just forget about them for a moment and found different ways. No, I came up with this list. That does not mean that this is the only list that exists out there. Probably there are others. Due to time restriction, I will only focus on this first one. I will explain a bit more the following three ones, and this last will just be mentioned by passing. But if you want to know more information about them, take a look to our blog post in sensepost.com. Details will be published soon. So yeah, to demonstrate the bypasses, I created a lab. This lab contains a private part where you can see the secret ingredient for the KFC recipe. And there is also a part here where you can change your own password and your security question, etc., etc. Okay, so this is the lab where I want to test everything. The objectives for me to demonstrate the CSP bypasses would be: first one, to exfiltrate the security question and answer; second one, to exfiltrate the secret ingredient; and third one, to change the user password, victim password. For that, I created two different vulnerabilities on the lab. This vulnerability, just is easier, I guess, to understand, gets a message parameter, no, and directly introduce the string into this JavaScript code down there. So you would get, if you visit the following page, secret PHP, etc., MSG, this is an error, and semicolon, you get the following JavaScript generated, which of course is a nice cross-site scripting. And the second vulnerability would be something similar, but in this case, what we have is allow the script with unknowns, etc., and gets the parameter source, okay, from URL params, and the source gets introduced as the source of a script. This script is going to be appended in the head of the document. Okay, so those are the two vulnerabilities that I will be using to demonstrate the CSP bypasses. So if you visit this source, you would get the script pointing to this code, script execution.js. So showtime. The first one with Hotjar that I mentioned, I found 2,050 sites in MyDB. This is 2% of the sites that I have that are implementing CSP. It's not big, but it's not small relatively. Okay, symptoms would be, symptoms would be finding asterisk hotjar.com and askhotjar.io in the content security policy, and can be used to exfiltrate data. This is how it would look like when you go to the site. This is a content security policy allowing default askhotjar.io, but for exploitation purposes, you can use it as well for connect source. Okay, this is the payload. Now, don't pay much attention to the mumbo jumbo. It's just focus on those parts: security question and answer, getting exfiltrated to the attacker.local domain. But of course, due to the content policy that has been implemented, if we try this to fetch this and send out this information, you would get the following error thanks to the CSP, which is good, no? But you as an attacker, you know that they are allowing Hotjar here. Okay, so now what we do, as an attacker, you open yourself an account in Hotjar, you create a poll, no? You insert that poll in your own website, you sniff this traffic, you sniff the traffic or answering that poll in your own website, and then you mimic this answer, but in this case from the victim website or from the victim browser. So if we take a look in Burp, for example, or your proxy of choice, we can see that the site, this is what you would see when you answer the poll in Hotjar. AskHotjar.io is the host where we are exfiltrating this information to. This is a response content parameter, which contain within the comment, we get the answer of the poll, no? So we are going to take advantage of it by introducing that in our previous proof of concept. We get now, again, the security question and answers exfiltrated from the profile of the user. We introduce them in the comment and then fetch, post this information to askhotjar.io, etc. So if we take all this JavaScript and encode it in base64, sorry for the red color, looks very bright here. But yeah, you used it and you introduce it as in the cross-site scripting that we saw in the first vulnerability here, appending next to message. By the way, this is a callout that you would need if you are going to use this eval. You need unsafe eval also allowed in the script source. But anyway, you shorten this to look less suspicious and deliver this script, this link to the victim. No, the victim clicks. And when the victim clicks, you get the following on your Hotjar attacker's account. I'm going to show you a video to demonstrate that. At the left side of the screen is the page. The victim is now logging in. On the right side is the attacker's perspective. It's a Hotjar account. The victim is logging in right now. There is the secret ingredient there and the profile with your password and the security answer and whatnot. Okay, so now the victim is going to click on the link, the malicious link. It gets redirected now to the cross-site scripting. We get that there was a success, and as attacker, we update our dashboard and get the following exfiltrated from the page. Okay, the favorite bird is the word. Anyway, so Facebook. Thank you. I found this was a bit more popular in this case. 2,750 sites in my database. 2% of the site, 2.6% of the site implementing CSP. They're allowing Facebook.com or Facebook.net to be used to exfiltrate data. Okay, so you can, as an attacker, go and create yourself a developer account in in Facebook, and exfiltrate data there. I will show that later. No, so this is the content security policy that you would face. This or this other configuration to exfiltrate data. Okay. This is going to be shorter. In this case, we are taking advantage of the Facebook framework, the tracking pixel. No, the first line is just initiating the tracking pixel of Facebook to point to the attacker account ID, and the second line is just creating a fake event, a fake custom event. This fake custom event is going to exfiltrate within the data, the secret ingredient in this case. Okay, so this is what you would look like, what you would see as an attacker if you get your victim clicking on that link. Okay, the secret ingredient has been exfiltrated to your Facebook account, to your Facebook developer account dashboard. Okay, demo 3 is with JS Deliver. I found that this was a bit more known around, but nevertheless I think it's interesting to know. Found 550 sites in my database. Symptoms CDN JS Deliver allowed and asterisk JS Deliver allowed. Can be used in this case to execute code instead of exfiltrating code. Okay. that one is straightforward. You just host your code in your account, hit GitHub account or npm, okay, and politely ask JS Deliver CDN to cache that code. No, you are by using a specific URL. This URL is telling JS Deliver to go to GitHub, to the username Felmoltor, to the repo name bunch of JS, and to the path exec, and it would politely get all your code and get it cached there. So now you only need to exploit the second vulnerability, the one with the source parameter here. You just need to send or deliver this script, this link to the victim. The victim clicks and gets the password changed and security question, etc., etc. Now this is a bit more elaborate, but it's interesting as well. Not many sites, but relatively high. 550 sites in MyDB. Amazon AWS.com asterisk. Okay, can be used to exfiltrate, but I'm pretty positive that you can use it to execute code as well. So you need to define two different components here. A Lambda function and an API gateway. This is the content of the Lambda function. It is easy. You just get the data parameter, decode it, and print it in the console, which this console logs is going to be visible for you as an attacker in your CloudWatch logs. Okay. And this is the script that you need to execute on the victim side, the code that you need to execute on the victim side. You just have your API gateway hosted here as a subdomain of Amazon AWS.com, and the data contains just the base 64 encoded data that you want to exfiltrate. Okay, and then just append this script, and you would get the following on your CloudWatch logs. Okay, the secret ingredient. Okay, now this is just passing by. I found another 4 different vulnerabilities, CSP bypasses with Amazon CloudFront, Azure Web Applications, similarly 100 site. First one would be the content security policy allowing *CloudFront.com. The following one would be AzureWebsites.net and AzureStaticApps.net. Both can be used to execute and exfiltrate data, and the proof of concept would be similar. To exploit the second vulnerability, you just send this to the victim. You get the information or the script executed on the victim side. Heroku, Firebase, those are not very popular, but you never know when they're going to be useful for your next bug bounty. So *HerokuApps.com and FirebaseApp.com. Similar, you open your accounts in each of those and host your code, and it could be executed by the victim. Anyway, not going to delve too much. So now that we know how many ways they can bypass this CSP, what do we do as a defenders? No. First of all, push the big red button. And encourage other people to do so, please. Do not be the dentists that are not brushing their teeth. So, if you're doing that, if you're implementing CSP, do that in conjunction with sub-resource integrity. So if one of your third parties get popped and one of the JavaScripts get changed, please, if you're using sub-resource integrity, you wouldn't get that code executed on your website. I know some personal stories of that, but yeah. So then, if you're using your CSP, don't use anything that says unsafe. Unsafe, for the ones that do not know English, is a very bad word, okay? And use instead nonces and hashes. You can use a strict dynamic, okay? You can use a strict dynamic to reduce the operational load, transitive property that I mentioned before, but be aware of the risk. That means that you have to really trust those other third parties. Then reduce the number of allowed third party on your content security policy, reduce it to a minimum. I'm not saying not use them, but reduce them to a minimum. And if possible, instead of opening pokes and poking holes on your CSP to allow third parties, just host the libraries on your own domain, so you don't have to poke a hole in your CSP. Do not include, of course, if you have to do that, do not include third-party domains with wildcards, such as this one. You're allowing everyone that has a Amazon AWS-domain.com API gateway to execute or retrieve code from your site. No. Then use report to and report sample. This is giving you. It's going to be noisy, but it's giving you superpowers, and you are going to be able to see what is happening in real time with your users. No, what code is being executed on your clients or user side, and then finally, consider available commercial solutions to monitor client-side JavaScript. These solutions, you can search for them, they are going to tell you, or they're going to highlight an alert, tell you, hey, this script is being executed in one of your user browser, and it's not usual. So take a look to it. With all of that, thank you, everyone. Thank you for all my colleagues. You didn't let me thanks to my colleagues in Sense Post and Orange Cyber Defense, especially Simon and Leon and John and everyone else, and you guys for being here. Thank you, everyone.